The first finding was very clear that there is a wide interest of parents of ELS students in their children's education. So very clear results from all our different data collection methods. So we had, so that was reflected in our interviews with parents, interviews with pupils, with our parent survey, and also the interviews with the pupils. So and the pupil survey. So here is just one table which very clearly shows that the vast majority of parents think it's either very important or important to know how their child is doing at school. So this was also reflected in our pupil survey. So again, in a way, the pupil survey sample-wise had the largest chunk of participants, and we also completed the whole of KS4 completed the survey, and we had EL and non-EL pupils in the survey. And here you see very clear in the table that when we asked the pupils, well, how is your parental engagement? They had very similar results between EL pupils and non-EL, so there was no significant difference. So over 90% they said they actually attend parent evenings. We had very similar data with attending individual appointments. School visits by parents very often was actually much higher amongst the EAL pupils or the parents of the EAL pupils, and help with homework was also very similar. So I know we possibly all think, well, how much are these, when pupils fill in a survey, how do they do this? But I think it's very clear, even if they over-exaggerate or under, I mean, it would be a bit odd if one group does this more than the other. So again, I'm not sure whether some research has been actually done into this area, but so we also had in the interviews with the pupils fantastic and very detailed descriptions how they come home with homework, and they translate it for the parents, and then the parents have a discussion with them, and then they translate it back, or the parents translate pieces of their homework for the children if their English is still not so good. And then they are all these questions, oh, how was it at school? Oh, is that what they do in the English school? Especially we had newly arrived people, and I guess we can all sympathize that there is actually enormous amount of communication going on due to the migration factor. So it encourages, in a way, engagement. So when we then asked the staff, we got in most of the interviews when we talked about parental engagement, it was again and again, oh yeah, it's parents' evening. They really, we are not sure whether they're coming. I don't think they're really coming. There were lots of assumptions. There weren't actually any hard data. And really from our feedback, we, even with the parent evenings, we couldn't actually see that there was a significant underrepresentation. But also what was striking, that staff immediately heard engagement, it was parent evening and nothing else. So again, here it's really a wider conceptualization of parental engagement is needed. So here, for example, Goodall and Fourhouse had the 5 different dimensions, and possibly people in the audience know this, and it's really important to look at learning at home, school, home, school communication, in-school activities, and involvement in decision-making, and also collaboration within the community. So really, parent evening is only one indicator, and so that's would be good to raise awareness on this. The next part we looked at was what do parents actually know, and we had in the interviews and in the survey very specific questions, and again in both schools we found that there was quite a lack of understanding and knowledge, and it was in areas of school tests, school reports, grouping into sets of abilities, GCSE choices, vocational training was especially high in both schools, that half of the parents just didn't know what it was, what was actually on offer, what it actually means. We had information about the A-level system was lacking. It was a little bit better when we asked whether they know what kind of school subjects their children covered at the moment. So, but again, in one of the schools, still one of 3 parents had limited or very limited understanding. So we had topics within subjects, again in one of the school very high, with 58% not knowing actually within the subjects what was happening, and the other school 38%. Exam topics, again in both schools, more or less every second parent didn't know what was actually going on in the exams, and when exams was a bit better, and task set for homework was a bit better in one of the schools. So again, we are aware the sample is 61, so it's a small sample, but I think it gives a bit indication. And also and it's a pseudonym, the Kirkwood Academy, the sample, the parents had, a large majority of the parents had low levels of English, so it was very clear here wasn't a translation issue was the problem. And also they had arrived more recently. But what we also found, that there were pockets of absolutely lack of knowledge of parents who have been already in the school for more than 5 years. So really there need to be targeted strategy for this group as well.